Frankenstein's Happily Ever After by Virginia Dollins. In this video, I will be discussing the 1931 film adaptation of Frankenstein, which was written by Mary Shelley in 1818. There are many similarities between the two works, but one major difference. The film has a happy ending. Image shown is a close-up of the creature in the 1931 film, genuinely smiling and looking down. During its production back in 1931, filmmakers made some last-minute decisions about the ending of the film that turned it into a much lighter piece of entertainment. Image shown of a poster from the 1931 film, in which the creature appears to be clawing forward with an evil look on his face. While the novel ends sadly, with both Victor and Elizabeth dead, the film's ending shows Frankenstein recovering with Elizabeth, nursing him back to health, while the father toasts to a future grandchild. Image shown from the film of Frankenstein's father toasting with the housemaids, and Elizabeth by Victor's side at his bed in the background. Audiences over the years might have wondered why the film ends in joy when the novel clearly does not. What compelled filmmakers to make that choice? Image shown of a big red question mark. Well, the general critical consensus is that the happy ending is just there to please audiences, and most people think that it doesn't really make sense in relation to the rest of the film. Image shown of a typical movie theater audience from the 1930s. In fact, it originally had a much darker ending, but the filmmakers decided at the last minute to change it. Originally, it ended after the monster throws Frankenstein out of a window, and he miraculously survives, leaving the monster to die in the windmill that the people had set on fire. But the general public of 1931 must not have liked such a dismal ending. Image shown from the film of the windmill on fire from afar, with the townspeople standing below. According to an expert on Great American Movies named Tim Dirks, the unhappy denouement displeased preview audiences, so a short epilogue was added. The film concludes with a requisite happy ending, although the symbolism of the transgressing creator killed by his deformed monstrous creation, as sensed by Elizabeth, might have been more appropriate. Like most other critics, Dirks is skeptical of the happy ending. He sees it as being clumsily slapped on and seeming out of place and disconnected from the rest of the film. However, if you take a closer look at the plot of the film, especially compared to the plot of the novel, it becomes clear that the ending actually makes sense in relation to the rest of the film. The ending wasn't the only thing the filmmakers changed. They actually made a lot of small changes to the plot, some of which make a happy ending seem much more logical. In other words, it seems like the film sets up the happy ending on its own, and it isn't out of place at all. Image shown of the ending of the film, in which the grandfather with the housemaids outside of Frankenstein's bedroom, pouring him wine. Let me give some examples. One of these plot changes that supports the film's happy ending is that the creature does not kill Frankenstein's family members like he does in the novel. Instead, he strangles Fritz and Dr. Waldman, who are less significant characters, and he accidentally drowns a little girl named Maria. While this certainly is dark, it is much less gruesome than in the novel when he kills almost every single one of Frankenstein's family members and loved ones. In the novel, the creature kills Victor's little brother, which obviously makes Victor extremely upset and angry. He exclaims, "Alas, I had turned loose into the world a depraved wretch, whose delight was in carnage and misery. Had he not murdered my brother?" Image shown from the film of the creature holding Maria in his arms, about to throw her into the water. But in the film, the creature kills Maria instead, a little girl who is a farmer's daughter, and completely unknown to Frankenstein. We don't even see a reaction from Victor about the little girl's death. Clearly, audiences would view this death as less tragic than the death of his brother. This is one way in which the novel is much darker than the film. Since making this change significantly lightened up the film, it makes sense that filmmakers would create a happy ending to follow along after. Image shown from the film of Maria's father, the farmer, carrying her dead body into the town square. If that doesn't convince you enough that the film's happy ending wasn't just a careless addition that was only made to please audiences, there is another plot change that seems to have paved the way for a happy ending: the addition of Fritz. Fritz is Frankenstein's assistant, a visibly disabled man with a hunchback, who is usually shown using his small cane. Image shown from the film of Fritz, in which his hunchback is clearly visible. Near the beginning of the film, Frankenstein sends Fritz to steal a human brain from a laboratory that they can use for the creature, but Fritz accidentally takes the brain labeled abnormal without noticing. This abnormal brain is what ends up making the creature so violent and aggressive. Image shown from the film of the brain in a jar labeled abnormal brain in big capital letters. So basically, all of the horrible things that the creature ends up doing is all Fritz's fault, not Henry's. Placing all of the blame on Fritz allows audiences to see Henry in a much more positive light and gives them less reason to dislike him. Image shown from the film of Fritz stealing the abnormal brain from the laboratory. Other than making Henry more likable, Fritz has another job in the film. He acts as an entertainment factor for audiences. The average audience member probably does not see a hunchback often, so they view his disability as something strange and freakish, and therefore entertaining. The addition of Fritz lightens up Frankenstein by making Henry a less blameworthy character, and also by having an entertainment effect on audiences. Image shown from the film of Fritz climbing on top of the gallows to cut down the rope, so that they can steal the dead body. Fritz's body position and facial expression look very odd and freakish. These changes to the plot, the fact that the creature doesn't kill all of Frankenstein's family members, and the addition of Fritz to the story, set up the film for its happy ending. Although most critics view the ending as out of place, not right for the film, and only there to please audiences, if you look more closely at some of the other changes that were made to the plot, the ending really does make sense. Image shown again of the creature smiling, looking satisfied.